Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at patreon.com/inspired disorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of Swipe Up, the 147th episode of the show where I talk about things that I've seen on Instagram, and whether that's news, pop culture events, whatever it is, I give my opinion and thoughts on it. So let's get started, shall we, with this first post here. Burger King employees left a viral goodbye message after they all quit. And the picture is a Burger King sign with the marquee underneath. "We all quit. Sorry for the inconvenience," which is a very common thing. Seems to be going around all over ever since the pandemic, which we are still in. But a trend of people in shitty paying jobs not wanting to work at those shitty paying jobs, especially getting the shitty pay and being forced to do basically multiple people's jobs within your job because they are understaffed, means that less people have to do more work, which is the worst. Back when I worked for a company, Costco specifically, anytime that happens a lot. It happens a lot where the business will expect you to have the same productivity with less and less people. It's pretty common thing. And then when you confront them about it, they try to gaslight you into thinking that they're not doing that. I don't know. It's insane how businesses are run, even for somebody like Costco, who's quote unquote got a good reputation. But I would highly disagree. Their reputation is mildly better than most. But in this situation, I am not surprised. I would love to quit this way. There were many times working when I worked a lot of different things at Costco, one of which was the pizza place. Majority of my time was selling electronics, but I worked in the pizza kitchen for a few years. And there were plenty of times in the pizza kitchen, which was located outside of the warehouse in San Diego, where the summertime would get ridiculously horrible because you're inside a kitchen that's outdoors, that has open windows to the outdoors, with giant pizza ovens inside. Like giant pizza ovens, just so you have all these giant heaters inside an area that has an air conditioner that's just never capable of keeping up with. So you're like all the employees just soaked in sweat, constantly having to like cool down, walking in the walk-in cooler a lot of the times because the air conditioner breaks, so they'll give us like box fans, like, here, blow some hot air on yourself to cool down. And not only just hot air, humid air, because you also sell hot dogs that are cooked in these giant steamers. So you get a lot of moisture in the air in the kitchen. So it's humid, hot and humid. And they don't care. Management doesn't care. Unless people are dying, unless management could potentially get in trouble, which they're not, because, there's no OSHA. The times OSHA was called, they never did anything for a lot of other safety issues that Costco had. It's just they know what they can get away with, and they get away with it. And they get away with it so much that they're deluded to the fact that they're getting away with something. They think that because they're not ever doing the job themselves, or maybe they did it a decade ago, and they're like, oh, it was hard for me, so it has to be hard for you. It's like, I had to work in shitty conditions, so you have to work in shitty conditions, which is a ridiculous state of mind to put people in. It's like, we have progress for a reason, to make things better for everybody, not just better when you evolve past that job position. But yeah, there were many times where I would have loved to and would have organized a strike like this, just working at night. Like, I would come in as a supervisor in the pizza kitchen, and the morning supervisor, which morning in the pizza kitchen, they're there hours before any customers, before the store opens, preparing everything. But they only prepare enough stuff for the 2 hours that they're open. And then I would come in where we're just off of the lunch rush. There is zero prepped, and all the people are leaving who are there in the morning. So I have to like deal with customers, prepare for the rest of the night. It was just ridiculous. And then the nights where the morning supervisor would have to close one night a week, every week on that they would call in sick. And nothing would ever happen to them. It was ridiculous. So there were many reasons and opportunities to go out like this. Instead, I waited another decade working at that place before I quit. But yeah, good on those Burger King employees, and good on every single person that doesn't want to work for shit pay. It's ridiculous. Like you can't survive on minimum wage in this country. It's just impossible to do so. And to think that you have to work more than one job to survive in this country is ridiculous. It's ridiculous when we have like billionaires going like in a race to go into outer space to do this like dick measuring competition with billionaires. But yeah, good on those Burger King employees. Fuck Burger King. I mean, all fast food is pretty garbage. Just don't go. Go to like In-N-Out. They pay their employees good, and it's good food. Anyway, let's move on now to something that I wasn't aware of. I was aware of this technology, but this is the first I've heard of it used. I did talk a bit about this documentary that's coming out, but this one, Anthony Bourdain doc, used deepfake technology. Filmmaker Morgan Neville used AI technology to recreate Anthony Bourdain's voice for some lines in Roadrunner, a film about Anthony Bourdain. I'm still looking forward to watching this documentary. I'd be curious to know what he said, because that would be important. But his voice is, iconic. That's him narrating his shows, and just his writing and his voice combined are amazing. So without his writing, his voice, it'd be interesting. I'd be interested to know what he did. I'm not a fan of this happening, but big studios, this is the beginning of what is going to be commonplace. There's going to be 100% fake audio, video of everything. And it's going to be so hard to distinguish that, it's going to be propaganda is going to be released to the world in ways in which will be very effective. Like exponentially more effective than the propaganda that is currently being effectively used. Like being able to recreate somebody saying and like watching, like you'd be able to watch a press conference that's completely artificially generated of an image and a voice of somebody that, like you could actually do a press conference with Trump that actually makes him sound smart. Like that's the technology that we're using. Like we can actually make it so he doesn't sound like a delusional idiot all of the time, and put which that's how you'll know. That's how you'll know. Like Joe Biden doesn't stumble over his words because he has a stuttering speech impediment. Like he just flows, like just spews things like Obama. It's like, oh, that's when you know. When you see the change. But you have to see the change because it'll be subtle. It'll be a subtle change because they'll be good, but they won't be perfect. Just like when you see AI in movies, like you see an animal that looks almost like a real animal, but when it moves, you can kind of tell that it's CG. Like it's just not moving right. You do that. You see that with rubber people all the time in movies, where it's like clearly they're jumping around, they're doing parkour that never could have been done, and it's just they feel weightless in those moments and feel not real. That's what we're gonna be like. So I don't know. Like the deciding factor on how angry I would be at this piece of news would 100% depend on what he said in the documentary, but it's something that's going to happen. Like, you're going to see this instead of movies using ADR, they're just going to use this. Just like the movie Space Jam, which I talked about on Monday. Movie studios are going to digitally scan all of their actors. They're going to have digital scans and voice libraries for every actor that they have a contract with, that they're going to be able to get life. I guarantee you there's going to be a generation of actors that are going to be screwed over in epic ways by movie studios who are scanning them. They're going to scan them, get their thing. They're going to sign their life away not knowing. And then probably in another 50 years, there's going to be issues where your digital life assets are going to be contractually signed to different companies for a limited time. Kind of like actors are now. They're hired for certain jobs. You can hire the actor, or you can pay for their digital assets to use in your movie, which is going to be interesting in a lot of ways, but suck in the fact that instead of hiring different people to act in things, there's just going to be a small group of actors that are going to be in everything, which that's a bummer. Like, every movie is just going to be The Rock and Jason Statham and Charlize. It's just going to be the stars from Fast and the Furious and the stars from Marvel's universe and it's just going to be 100 different actors that are going to be in 90% of the films. And then you're going to have little low budget indie films that don't get distribution because none of the companies want to compete with real actors. It's going to be an interesting time. I think this is more of a sign of what's to come than it is a big travesty. I mean, I think it's going to be a slippery slope. Things are not going to go well, but it is what it is, and you're just going to have to be aware of it. And, if you don't like it, don't support it. Don't go see the documentary. I'd be curious to know what he said first. And maybe the article, maybe I just didn't read into the article enough. But let's move on for a little bit of zen. A little bit of moment of zen. No bad news in this one. Deep dive. Divers explore an underwater sunken city as the world's deepest pool, which reaches the depths of 60 meters. It opened in Dubai recently, and it's kind of crazy. It looks like it's a sunken, like a sunken building. They're playing foosball down there. It's really cool. It's like an amusement park of pool amusement park. You're wearing scuba suits to go down there. I think it's pretty cool. I'd love to go check that out. I'd be curious to know how that holds up. Like, if there's an earthquake, it goes 60 meters deep. I don't know if Dubai has earthquakes or not, but that would be my only concern, Which, I mean, what's the concern? Okay, it gets a leak in it. So you're just but finding where that leak is would probably be a bit difficult. But yeah, kind of cool. Of course, it's in Dubai. They go big out there. I think Dubai and the UAE is. I think they took the phrase of everything's bigger. They stole that from Texas. Not everything's bigger in Texas. The egos, there's a lot of big egos in Texas. They have this delusional feeling of freedom out there because they can buy handguns and carry them around and kill each other. That's freedom in Texas. But as far as going big, this is going big for sure. But yeah, back to bad news. How about that? Let's move on. 17 million gallons of sewage spilled into Santa Monica Bay. 17 million gallons of shit and piss and blood and just backroom abortion fetuses. I don't know what's in the sewers, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some girl who's from a super conservative family thinks that they have to go to. It's in California, so that's not really a thing. You can kind of get it. You can get abortions. It's not like Texas. It's not like a lot of the red states where abortions are illegal. So probably not that many fetuses in this 17 million gallons of sewage, but definitely a lot of piss and shit and blood and just bacteria and disease. Just disgusting. I mean, why is it so easy for the oceans to be flooded with oil and with piss and shit? Like, why is that so easy? Why are things breaking down so often that the oceans are being flooded with all these toxic materials? It's disgusting. I would imagine that sewage is generally pumped into the ocean. It's just it didn't get where it was going. There was some kind of malfunction somewhere, but I don't know. That's one thing about going to the beaches, is that you are potentially swimming in sewage, especially depending on what beach you're going to. You know, the 17 million gallons, they shut the beaches down, but like, do they do that for 3 million gallons? Like, would you feel comfortable going to a beach if there was only 3 million gallons of sewage leaked into the ocean? 1 million gallons? Say 100 gallons of sewage. That might be whatever. You could probably get just that much from people peeing and shitting in the ocean in general at a beach. So maybe not 100 gallons, but 1 million gallons, 17 million gallons. That's a lot. That's disgusting. I do miss going to the beach, though. Do miss it. But the beaches in certain parts of LA, I mean, I'm sure like the wealthy parts of, beach life in LA, the ones with a lot of money, they probably don't get a lot of sewage spillage in those areas. It's probably like, wherever the lower income beach communities are probably the communities that have that deal with raw sewage being spewed into their ocean on a more regular basis. But just kind of disgusting what our society pumps into the world. Anyway. So surprising, all that sewage, and Tito Ortiz didn't somehow get swept away in it. Let's move on now to Richard Branson, first billionaire to go into space. There's the big race between Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, and out of nowhere, Richard Branson does it with his Virgin Galactic. I didn't even think about Richard Branson being in that race. And it's amazing that he's a UK guy. So I would be curious to know what taxes are like for Richard Branson in the UK. Like, does he get away with not paying taxes in the same way as the Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk are? I don't know. Like, I'd have more respect for Richard Branson if he is heavily taxed and still managed to be the first billionaire into space. Like, out of the billionaires, he's like the old school one. He's like the fun one. He was he's skydiving. He was doing crazy stunts as a billionaire. Unlike, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. But there was a great video of this mixed with, what was that poem called? Whitey's on the Moon? Whitey's on the Moon. Great kind of spoken word poetry to drum beat about just social inequality that's been going on for decades and decades. Basically, social inequality has been going on since mankind. Since people started being able to convince others that they have more importance to society than others, there's been kind of a class system. So it's very much about that, how, people can't pay for doctor bills, but meanwhile, Whitey's on the moon. It's great. It's great. It's somehow super against copyright infringement on Instagram. So that video got blocked in like, I don't know, like 100 countries. I think that's more of censorship, considering Instagram has that audio available to put on their videos. So I just had that audio on a video already, which normally when you have audio, like I'll make a video on TikTok and add, a music to usually my painting videos. And then when I put that painting video onto Instagram, Instagram will just act like I used the audio that they have available. And they'll add it to that audio's page. This one didn't do that. This one I think it's censored. It's not in the U.S., but a lot of other countries. I think it's censorship. I think those countries don't want messages like that out in the world, that there's like billionaires, but meanwhile people can't afford to go to the doctor. But yeah, I don't know. I hope more of these billionaires die in space. It's kind of my hope, like it'd be a big quote unquote tragedy for Jeff Bezos to not make it back, or Elon Musk to make it back. There'll be a lot of people crying for billionaires dying. Meanwhile, like innocent people are getting murdered by police officers almost daily, it seems like. But whatever. All I can think is that Bo Burnham song about Jeff Bezos. I guess he did 2 songs. Anyway, those are my thoughts on those things. Let's do some shout outs and get out of here. Shout out to BuzzFeed News. Shout out Movie Facts. Shout out ABC News, LA Times, NPR, and most importantly, shout out to you. Get yourself $25 in new credit when you sign up for your great new cell phone service over at Ting. Go through my link, inspireddisorder.com/Ting. Sign up now with that link, and you get yourself $25 to put towards a new device, put towards your service. But it's a great quality service that you do not pay an arm and a leg for. I love it. I've been using it for years and pay so very little. I could almost pay 2 months of my cell phone bill with $25 credit that you get for free when you go through my link, inspireddisorder.com/Ting. That's TING, inspireddisorder.com/Ting. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com, and follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!